Hello my friends and welcome back to Kev's Hobby Showcase. I'm of course Kevin. And also you may have seen me on Tabletech Productions presents 2 Idiots Playing Board Games, and also as well, well maybe not because we don't have any members yet, we are starting a Patreon channel called Tales from the Tabletop, but it might also be under the name Storytime Jones. We're still trying to sort that out. But today I'm going to be painting a bunch of minis, big shock there. I'm going to be painting basically a clan star from the game Battletech, and it's going to be done in the colors of Clan Wolf, which I had already looked up. It is basically forest green. I don't have a jar of paint that says actually forest green, so I'm just going to use a dark green. And it basically said that it'll have bits of, like you could have like highlights or like bits of tan and gold in it, so I'll try to utilize both. Now, what I'm also going to do is in another video, I'm going to do for the same clan from Battletech, I'm going to do a Star of Elementals, but this video is going to be just the Battlemechs. So, start bringing them out here. We have the Summoner, and next we have the Adder. I don't know why they call them these names. I have no idea what they mean. Next is the Stormcrow. Okay. Well, here is the Shadow Cat. And lastly, the Nova. Now, I don't remember which one of these I have it written down, but I just don't have it in front of me. So what I've been doing, instead of waiting for some of these faction packs to come out, I've just been putting together mechs with just a couple of them having a mech warrior attached to it. What I mean by that is, from one of the previous Kickstarters, I had gotten a pack of mech warrior cards, and on it would say, of course, the name, rank, and it would say what mech they normally use, and I guess it's like what mech's assigned to them, and also what faction they're from, whether it be one of the houses, whether it be one of the mercenaries, whether it be one of the clans. They didn't have too many clans, so I kind of had to do it with the way I had one mech warrior card for a clan, and I would just build it from there, which is what I did here. Now, one thing I want to say for those of you who've never read any of the lore, because those of you who have know exactly what I'm going to be talking about. One thing that they do, and it's really interesting, is they have it where when you, first of all, in the clans, you're not born, like regular from a woman. You're basically born like a test tube baby. You're basically born through science. And in the writing and the fiction, they call what they are true birth. And they always feel like they're superior, and they actually have to they actually just have one name, and they have to earn a last name. So they'll find out from what DNA batch that they're from, and then they'll have to earn to get the last name of one of the two that are from that from one of the two people that are from that batch. Now, when I was reading some of the stories, and this is going back quite a few years ago. But I'm sure that I'm sure the books can still be found. I think it was, oh god, what was it? It was a 3-book series centering around the clan Jade Falcon. I forget exactly what it was called, but it was centered around them. And because they felt so superior to everybody else, they would call everybody who was born regular, like through man and woman, like the traditional way, they would call them trash birth, which I found a little bit amusing, but also insulting. But it's supposed to be insulting. And yeah, I just found that very interesting. I just wanted to share. So anyway, so we recently here have had snowstorms, so my back deck is full of snow. So I'm not going to show priming. I mean, you've seen me do it countless times in the other videos. I'll just repeat what I normally say. It's like you try to do like short bursts with the primer. Also try to make sure that the wind isn't blowing back at you, so you don't get the primer all over you. But also, just to always do it outside. And don't worry if it looks like it's caked on, because it will settle in. What I am going to be doing is probably just opening up my back door and just doing it there, and it'd be kind of awkward to film that, so I'm just not even going to. And also because I have a lot of stuff around there, and it would just look too cool. I mean, I know I got all that stuff back there. You know, hey, I live here, so you know, and it's only me, so I'm not always straightening up all the time. But yeah, so you know, but it's you know, like I said, I'm just going to do that off camera. So when I come back, we're going to start with the base coat, which is most likely going to be a dark green. I'm going to do it all of them. So stay tuned, and I will be right back. Okay, I'm back, and the primer and those Battlemechs have dried. And so now I'm going to be painting them, like I said, in the colors of Clan Wolf. It says forest green, but I found deep green. So hopefully it's the same thing. Alright, so let's get to it with the base coat. Alright, let's put this down. Excellent. Okay. Alright, so let's just get to it with these. Okay. So I don't know if anybody remembers me mentioning the Kickstarter that I was involved in with Battletech, you know, focusing on the mercenary companies and also introducing vehicles. I am still waiting for mine, which kind of has me a little bit annoyed because I basically finalized everything on, I think it was the Sunday before Christmas. So this is going back a while. And, you know, I've been patiently waiting. I haven't received any email notifications where I could at least get an estimate as to when, you know, stuff would be arriving. Heck, I haven't even gotten confirmation that anything has been shipped yet. So, yeah, it's a bit annoying because, you know, I'd like to get my stuff, you know. I mean, it's basically, I've been, you know, I made this pledge for them. God, it has to be about 2 years ago. I mean, at least. So I feel like I've waited long enough, you know. So I'm hoping that sometime soon, I at the very least get a notification that something is happening. You know, and if I remember correctly, the last time that they did a Kickstarter, I think it was pretty much the same thing. It was a really long wait. You know, I was just hoping it would be a bit different this time. Alright, so look at this. Yeah, it's a nice dark green. So this, I mean, I know it says, like I said, the when I went on to Camo Specs, you know, it did say forest green. When I went and looked at the paints at Brown's Hobbies, I did not see forest green, but like I said, this one says deep green. So I'm like, you know what? Close enough. Okay. And in the next video, I'm going to be doing a Star of Elementals for Clan Wolf. So, as like any time I do any clans from now on, you know, with Battletech, I'm going to try to have ready to go a Star of Elementals. Because, you know, because I feel that having ground troops is an essential part of a war game. I mean, Battlemechs are fun, but, you know, still I still want the other aspects. Now, when I was going through all the Kickstarter stuff, they did have some of the aircraft, like the fighters, which they call, which they, in the game they were calling it Aerotech. So, so it's more than just the ground vehicles that are going to be introduced. It's also the aircraft. Now, I just went to the Catalyst Labs website recently, like a couple of days ago, and I saw something very interesting. I saw that they had available to get was dropships. Now, I do not believe that they are to scale to the Battlemechs because these things would be freaking huge. But I think it's just like something that you could use on a game board, which would be interesting. It'd help to create some nice scenarios. Where you're trying to attack a drop ship either while it's landing or taking off. Basically you can come up with a whole bunch of different ways to use it. Of course, I always wondered if they would ever design a dropship that would also be able to store some of your Battlemechs and and other units as well. Because honestly, when WizKids had the rights to this and they were releasing it as Mech Warrior, they had a dropship. It didn't look like the traditional ones, but with their dropship, it's like they had 4 compartments where you can put units in there. Like they had a shelf that you can like fold up. So it's like if you wanted to just have vehicles and infantry in one of those in one of those spots, they had it so you can fit a couple of them. But if you folded it up, you had room for one Battlemech. That's pretty cool. I mean, I did wind up selling all the Mech Warrior stuff when WizKids stopped basically producing it, because I figured back then with that it was all about tournament play. Like everything was about tournament play, pretty much with WizKids. And once they kind of discontinued their line, I was like, all right, no one's ever gonna be meeting up to do this, so I sold it. I might still have a few pieces here and there, so that I didn't have with everything when I was putting it all together, but it's pretty much all gone. I try not to. If I have a game that I know I'm never going to use again. Of course, back then I wasn't doing these channels. Maybe I would have held on to it if I knew I was going to wind up doing this. But if I knew that I had a game that was never going to be played again, I would look to see if there's anybody who actually wanted it. And when I was selling the Battletech stuff, I believe the person who bought it from me was on an army base, and I had to ship it. I remember a very specific way. I forget exactly how it was, but I had to do like extra steps in order to get it to that person. Well, if you're out there and you stumble across this video, I hope you enjoyed it. Because I remember I had 2 drop ships. I had one that was intact, but I had one, I remember I had ordered it off from someone from eBay, and thing was broken. But instead of bitching about it and demanding my money back, I immediately started thinking of how could I use this, because you basically could use a broken dropship in a scenario where it crashed, which is what I did it a few times, I think, or at least once. And you know, but like I said, once I realized that it was, I mean, because like the people I was playing against, which pretty much were mostly family, didn't live in New York anymore. So I knew that simple game nights weren't going to be a thing anymore. And, so, and then, I kind of backed away from Battletech for a while, and then when I realized that it was kind of trying to make a comeback, I decided to, of course, check it out. And I liked what I saw, so I started getting it again. Sometimes that's the thing about games. It's like sometimes the people making the game decide that it's not as popular as they would have liked it to be. Excuse me. And then they just stop making it. Dry throat. Sorry about that. Yeah, so anyway, so that's happened with a couple of games. I remember a card game based on Battlestar Galactica, WizKids was trying to put out. They kind of abandoned that one quickly. I think it came out with just a little bit. I actually bought whatever I had at a convention I was at. It was a WizKids convention, and it was at a Wizard World convention, and WizKids had a booth there. And I remember me and my brother-in-law used to go. Let me try it again in English. It was always in Philadelphia, and my brother-in-law and I, every other year, would go to this convention, and we would always go to the WizKids booth because they had this really good promo that they always did. It's like if you spent $25, you got like a something specific like for free. If you spent 50, then you got the first one and something else for free. And they would keep on doing it with 75, and then for 100 and over. And we would make sure we had enough money while we were there so that we can go on each day that we were there. I think it was a 3-day convention, so for each day that we were there, we would go there, spend like $100 there. At least I think it was 3 days. It may have just been 2. And we would get more than one copy of whatever it was that they were giving away. So I think I still have some of those like special edition mechs that they were giving out like that. It's coming on nicely with the deep green. All right. Yeah. So I mean, I know the Wizard World conventions that were from the magazine Wizard World, which I don't think is in print anymore. It wasn't a bad magazine. I had a bunch of copies myself from the time that it was out. It mainly covered everything, comics, games, stuff like that, either trading cards or just those collectible card games. And there have been several of those types of games out over the years. Some still going, some not. And let's face it, you talk about those collectible card games, what do most people think about? They think about Magic the Gathering, Think about Pokemon and Digimon, I think is the other one. Yeah, I remember years ago, my son had bought a couple of Pokemon booster packs, and I thought that he was getting interested in the game. He just liked the way the cards looked. Because I had offered to, I think it was close to Christmas, and I had offered for Christmas that year to buy like some starter sets for us, and like to at least have me, him, and his sister play. And you know, I was gonna get a whole bunch of stuff, and then before I did it, I asked him one more time. I was like, "Listen, are you interested in the game?" He's like, "No." I was like, "Oh, all right." Because if he's not interested in the game, I'm not gonna waste my money. Okay. All right, we got one more to do with the base coat, and then I'm gonna take a break. At this point, it's late enough in the day that I'm also starting my dinner. So now I'm wondering what's going to be finished first, this video or my dinner. Alright. Okay. And besides, with the amount of times I have to wait for paint to dry, most likely my dinner is going to be finished first. But that's okay. Doesn't matter what time of the day I get back to this video, as long as I do it. Alright. Here we go. Yeah. I mean, sometimes the base coat is what takes the longest, because basically once I'm done with this, the rest is going to be pretty quick. Because, like I said, you know, well, as always now, because what I do now is I take the color gunmetal and I go over whatever looks like a weapon and the cockpit window. It said in the color scheme that there's tan and gold paint, as well as the green. So I'll find spots to put those, you know, just like a little bit here, a little bit there. You know, once, and those usually just go by very, very quickly. You know, of course, then also I do the black on the edge around the base, so that I can put the labels on, so I can tell you know, so I can easily identify what faction that this unit that this star will belong to, and the names of the mechs, because there's so many of them in this game. I'm never going to remember all of them. Some of them I do, but most of them I don't. Most of them I got to look up. Okay, just about done with the base coat. Okay, whoop, that's where, back there, gotta get some more back there. Okay, that's base coat for all of them. Deep green. Okay, let's clean the brush. All right. Okay. Okay, so Gonna let that base coat dry, and when we come back, we're gonna do some little details, and we'll move on from there. All right, so stay tuned, and I will be right back. Okay, we've given that base coat some time to dry in these Battlemechs, so let's start with the details. All right, let's get this on. Let's touch it down. Okay, so, well, let's start off with gunmetal. Let's get the weapons and the the cockpit windows colored in here. All right, so you know what? On this one here, I'm just going to do the entire thing. It might look a bit cooler if I do that, than to just do the front of it. What I sometimes do with the Battletech game is I'll set up, I'll set up the board and all that, and I'll take out two teams. Usually these teams that I'm making up, some that I'm making up, some that were already presented in the Lance packs, and just do a run through. But instead of doing the Alpha Strike way of playing it, I'll do it with the classic way, with the maps and the the data sheets and all that stuff. All right. So this way I can have a bit of a insight to some of these mechs. Alright, so I don't really see anything else that looks like a weapon. Oops. So let's just get the cockpit window. See, it's got a little bit on the side here. Oops. I'm not worried about that. That'll get corrected when I do the wash. Alright, so let's move on to this one. Yeah, so as I was mentioning earlier, like I said with the Kickstarter, so I am looking forward to it, because not only is it going to introduce the vehicles, but it's also going to get more in depth with the mercenary companies, which do make up a good portion of the game. At least it could, and it's pretty cool. I mean, heck, the game that I play, which on my Steam Deck, which is a Battletech game from a company called Harebrained Schemes. The whole point of it is you're running a mercenary company. And you're accepting contracts. Oh, that beeping sound is when I'm cooking is pretty much done. All right, so we're gonna take a break. Don't know if it's gonna be a big one or a small one yet. Okay, so I'll finish this up when I'm back from my break, and because I gotta take care of that. And so stay tuned, and I will be right back. Okay, I'm back, and yes, I took a break for dinner. It was good, very good. Of course it was. I cooked it. But so now I'm gonna finish up what I was doing. I was actually doing the gunmetal on the weapons and the cockpit windows. Finished 2 of them. Now I'm gonna go on to the 3rd. Doing it the assembly line method, as I've described before, where basically I just take one color and hit every piece. So, yeah, so, I mean, let me just make sure I don't have any other spots on this one. Because I think I got everything that looked like a weapon. Pretty sure I did. Alright, so let's move on to this one. Alright, well, yeah, so when you live by yourself, and right now I do because my kids are with their mom, you know, you gotta set yourself up, you know, with dinner time, bedtime, all that stuff. And, you know, it's a good way to keep yourself, you know, in check. It's a good way to keep yourself disciplined, you know, to a certain degree. You know, basically, it's just a good way to be an adult. Because, you know, I made myself, you know, I always set myself up for good dinners. You know, I would say I'm a good cook. I was taught by the best. I was taught by my mother and my father. Both of them were good cooks. Although sometimes I don't think my dad gave himself enough credit, because my mom was a really good cook. I shouldn't say was, she is a really good cook. Yeah, my mom is very much still alive, and I am so happy that I still have her. Yeah, I am lucky, excuse me, in that aspect. I mean, unfortunately, my father passed away a long time ago. You know, he had a brain tumor, unfortunately, and basically it was like only one tumor, but it was in a spot that they could not get at without pretty much turning him into a vegetable. So they had, you know, did all sorts of treatments, and we did think it went into remission once, but then it came, whoops, then it came back with a vengeance, and you know, and then pretty much that was the end. But you know, I had a great time with my father while he was here. You know, and I have a great time with my mom while she's here. And in fact, very soon, she and one of my sisters are going to be here because it's my son's birthday soon. Yep. I now, as of his birthday this year, and for privacy reasons, I won't say the exact date, because I don't know if he would appreciate me saying it. You know, my kids are very much into their privacy. You know, they don't mind that I mention that I have kids. They just don't want me to give too much details, which I try not to. But anyway, so as of this birthday, my son turns 18, and both my kids will be adults. And I feel old. Yeah, I myself am 53. I don't mind saying that. I'm actually very proud of my age. One thing I noticed about myself is I don't feel like I don't feel embarrassed by my age. I don't feel embarrassed to admit how old I am. You know, it's almost like a badge of honor to, you know, go through everything that I've been going through and still be here. You know, with the divorce and everything. You know, so anyway, yeah, so with my father, when he was here, he's the one who taught me how to barbecue, of course. So I think most dads are very good at that. And he taught me a couple of things on the stove. Taught me how to make stew, beef stew, which I probably don't make often enough, to be honest. I probably should make it more often, especially this time of year. It is the winter, and it's good to have a nice, warm and hearty meal in the winter. But, you know, I learned other things. You know, I learned a lot of things, actually, cooking-wise, from my mom. As soon as I moved into this place, what I would do on almost a nightly basis is, because I would get, you know, I would pretty much get ingredients that I knew I needed for my favorite meals. But then I would ask her, I would call her up and say, okay, this is what I'm making. I said, what temperature on the stove? Okay, how long? You know, get all the detailed instructions on how to cook it. And I like to think that I'm pretty good at it, especially now. I mean, every now and again, there's still a dish that I need to ask her about to so this way I could start doing it myself. As a matter of fact, just last year, I think it was last year. It may have been even earlier than last year, but for years I've been wanting to make my own tomato sauce because, I am part Italian. My mother's Italian, and she had told me several times how to make tomato sauce, and each and every time I would forget or lose the instructions. And well, now I don't even need the instructions. And my mom told me that's how it was going to be. She said, if you make it often enough, eventually you won't even need them. And she was right. She was 100% correct. So now I don't even need the instructions on how to make the sauce. And I kind of learned a few things, like to get the consistency. Like part of making the tomato sauce is using something called pomi. And I learned that if you get the if you get the I think it's called a strained pomi, then you'll have a more smoother sauce. But if you get I wish I could remember what it's called. I think it was like diced or something. Then you get what looks more like marinara. I think that's all the weapons here. Okay. So yeah, as far as the sauce goes, when you're making tomato sauce, the pomi is what controls the consistency. Which I thought was pretty cool once I learned it. It's always nice to learn things, no matter how old you are. All right. Now, so that's that's the weapons, and that's the that's the the weapons, and it's the whatchamacallit, the cockpit windows. So now little details. Now, tan color. Trying to figure out. Trying to make a. I guess I got to make a snap decision here. So, where on these things am I going to put tan? I mean, it could be just like a stripe. It could just be one particular component is going to be tan, because I've also got gold to use as well. So here's what I'm going to do. And all right, so a little bit on the front and a little bit on the back. It's my lame attempt at singing. All right. It doesn't need to be any rhyme or reason to it. Okay, a little bit on the front. And now the back. Well, it's like a hatch. Why not? And just get that bit in there. Okay. All right. And just going to go on down the line. Little stripes here, little stripes there. Oops, that was a little bit more than I wanted, but so be it. So be it. A little bit in the front. A little bit in the back. And anything that looks too messy can be covered up with the wash. Alrighty. So. That was quite a bit more than I wanted. Alright. Okay. So, almost like when I was doing the camouflage for those Marines for that Aliens game that I have. Just do it in some random spots. Whatever I think looks nice. Okay, that's it for the tan. All right. Now, for the gold, we get this brush will do. Now, the gold, I'm going to try on the limbs. I may have to get a new thing of gold at some point. Oh, one thing I've always noticed that it was very gloppy. All right, let's try the knees. Okay. And let's do it around here. Okay. All right. All right. Yeah, so we'll do that. Do around the knees on all of them. And try to do a little bit around this joint as well. Well, something I'm going to be bringing out soon on this channel is I'm going to be doing more of the minis for a game that I did a while back, Federation Commander. I'm going to be doing more of those starships because I would like to start moving forward with that game. And John and I like to joke around because the game does require a fair amount of math, and you know, sometimes John likes to joke around saying, "I don't math well." Yeah, sometimes these reverse joints are a little tricky when you want to do knee joints. Alright, last one, and then we're gonna, oh, then I'm gonna do around the edge of the base. Okay. Alright. Not perfect, but that's okay. Alright, let's cover this up. Alright, now, the last part before we take a break. And then, of course, before I come back from that break, I'm going to put the labels on. You know, I'll do what I always do. I'll save one to do on camera, because once those labels are done, then it's putting the terrain on the bottom and doing the wash. Okay. Woo! Don't want to do that. And I know you guys don't normally see me wearing a long sleeve shirt. Like I said, it has been very chilly. It's been actually quite a few degrees below zero. Not below, well, not below zero, below freezing, of course. It's been in the in the teens, with a feels like in the single digits. I know, in contrast to some parts of the country, that's nothing, but you know, when you got arthritis like me, it's quite a big deal. And I do sympathize with anybody else out there who has arthritis, especially in their knees. You know, I hear you, I feel you, because it is not fun, not in the slightest. Okay. Just about done. So I have been remembering to silence all my devices, because I've noticed on quite a few of my videos something would sound off. I think right now the only thing that could interrupt is if my regular house phone starts going off, which hopefully that does not happen, because I'm not expecting any calls from anybody, and if a call does come in, it's probably someone saying I either owe them money or they're looking for money. Alright, so that's all for the paint. Alright, I'm going to take a break. Okay, so we're going to let all the excuse me, we're going to let all those details dry, and when we come back, we're going to finish up the labels, which I'm going to start off camera, and then we're going to do the base, which is the terrain. You know, like I do these differently than I do the Marvel ones, and then the wash, and then it's all finished. All right, so stay tuned, and I will be right back. Okay, so the detailed paint is dried on these Battlemechs, and put the labels on all but one. So let's get right to it, get that label on the last one, and we start on the base. All right, almost turned it off. That's what happens when you get ahead of yourself, you start making mistakes. Okay, so the last one is this one, the Nova. And you know, of course, after I cut the label, excuse me, cut the labels down so that they could fit on the edge of the base, the length of just about all of them was pretty perfect. That I wouldn't have to bend across, you know, and be like partially on another side. It all stayed on one side pretty much, especially this one, because it's called a Nova and is an extremely small label. Once I've cut it down, I'm gonna move this so that, because it's gonna get stuck on my big fat finger. Okay. Okay, so I took out the terrain. I usually do grassland. I'm gonna keep to it on this one. All right, so let's go. All right. 2 glops, one in front, one in back. Okay. There we go. Yeah, I always rub it off the edges, mainly because I want it off the labels, because what's the point of having these labels on if you're going to cover them, right? There we go. All right. Yeah, this part usually doesn't take very long. All right. There we go. All right. So, I am curious as to how different this experience is going to be when I'm doing it to vehicles. Because the Battlemechs, they're standing in it. I mean, doing the elementals gives me a bit of insight because, again, they're standing in it. But, you know, vehicles, it's going to be a bit different. I'm just curious as to how different it's going to be. Of course, I'm also very excited to use the vehicles because I always like to, like whenever I'm playing a war game, I always like to add every aspect that I can to it. It's like I one time saw this game advertised called Dystopian Wars, and it showed using every aspect of warfare, you know, land, sea, and air, which I thought was really cool. But you know, there's only so many big elaborate games you can have before it just becomes something that just sits on a shelf forever. Maybe one day. I don't even know if the game's still in print anymore. So maybe one day, but not something I'm going to rush into right now, besides there's other games that John and I are interested in. Okay. Alright, one more. And then we go right into the armor wash. Alright. And the armor wash is always what really brings out all the details of the Battlemech. Okay. Alright. Okay, so that is that. Always keep that brush separate. And now we have the armor wash, or the wash. And what's the first thing I wind up doing is flicking it mostly on my fingers. Yeah, look at that. But it's like I always say, if you see paint on my fingers, you know I've had a good day. Because I do enjoy doing this. And I do, you know, if I do say so myself, I actually do admire seeing it when it's out on the board being played. You know, and even when John and I used to play at Comic Book Jones, I used to really appreciate seeing other people's works, you know, with the painting. Because, I mean, I'll admit, you know, other people that I played with would take more liberties and get more creative with certain things. I like to try to keep to, you know, what the, you know, what my pieces were meant to be, you know, colored. I always tried to keep to it. Because, I'll be honest, sometimes the color scheme is what helped me make the decision. Because I liked the way it looked. Like when I played War Machine, I used the faction Signar, and two things drew me to it. I love the color scheme, and I love the fact that they were a technology-based faction. I figured that was right up my alley. And then, of course, when they went further with the game, they made a robot faction, which I did get a bit of. I think they changed the game again. You know, they put like another version of it out. So, I mean, what John and I have, I don't even know if it's even relevant anymore. But, you know, we had a couple of armies each. You know, the ones I had were, you know, we both had mercenary armies. We both had our own specific ones. I think, you know, I used Signar, you used Crix. There were a couple of the other, I think from the Horde side, there were a couple other factions that he had. You know, I think from the Horde side, I just had their mercenaries, which were called minions. I had some of theirs. I had a faction called Scorn, which was very different from what I normally use, because it was all like, you know, swords and sorcery, and, you know, the whole idea was to basically brutalize the other side. And, you know, I think I did all right with them sometimes, but I don't think I've won too many games with them. Yeah, but unfortunately, John hasn't had too many chances to play this game, so I'm going to try to bring this out more often so that he does and gets a good feel for it. Okay, wow, that's looking really good. Okay, let me close this up. All right. Let me get these guys ready, because I think they came out really good. And here they are. Clan Wolf, ready to be deployed. Whoops, I can't really see that one. There you go. Okay, so that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe and share this video as much as possible, as well as my other videos. Also, please check out Tabletop Jones Productions, where John and I are the two idiots playing board games. I know we haven't posted there in a while, but John's working on it. He's working to get everything out. You know, some difficulty with the programming, if I heard right. And also, if you are able to, please check out our Patreon channel, which is called Tales from the Tabletop, but it might still be under the name Storytime Jones. I don't know yet. You know, we're still trying to sort all that out. But please, you know, check everything out. If you know, everything that you can, and you know, and share the videos as much as possible. We're trying to really broaden our audience. We'd like to get more views. We'd like to get more subscribers. You know, we basically want to try to reach more people. So anyway, thank you very much. You have a great day and take care of yourself.